NBA fans, welcome back. Let's talk Eastern and Western Conference play-in tournaments. First off, I'd like to say I'm a big fan of this play-in thing. I'm glad that it's here to stay, it seems, and I think it adds this really exciting viewership level to basketball, this one and done type of idea. I think it's awesome. It adds this extra intensity. It eliminates tanking, I think, better than anything that they've tried in the past. It's here to stay. I'm a fan of the play-in tournament. I know LeBron doesn't like it, but I'm sorry, LeBron. I love you, but we disagree. Before getting the video, like the video, subscribe to the channel, do all that. Get me to a K. Huh? How does that sound? Cool, let's get into it. Let's start with the Western Conference. Western Conference Game 1 is the 7-8 game for the 7 seed to play the Phoenix Suns, which is the Lakers versus the Warriors. I think this game is going to be highly watched, very highly watched. I mean, it's LeBron versus Steph, you know what I mean? This is the beauty of the play-in tournament. I think the Lakers are going to win this one, though. The Warriors have been hot, right? The Warriors have been really good, and arguably Steph Curry deserves the MVP. I think there is a strong case to be made that Steph deserves the MVP over Jokic, and the Warriors are a good team. So it's not that the Warriors are bad, but I think it's just the fact that it's the Lakers. I'm not going to sit here and say I think the Lakers can go out and win a championship right now, though I mean, it's LeBron James, and I will never count that man out, ever. I will never. That guy will be 46 in the NBA, and I'll be like, yeah, the Lakers are going to the finals, or whatever team he's on by then. It's LeBron and AD. And not only that, the Warriors are a great defensive team, but they don't have a single guy who can cover guard either of those dudes. I mean, Draymond, but not anymore, not anymore. Andrew Wiggins, maybe, but probably not. The Lakers are too good. The Lakers are not your average 7 seed, 8 seed. They're going to win that matchup. They're going to take the 7 seed and play a series against the Suns. Poor Phoenix, man. Finally has a good record. The second team in the Western Conference, and the first round they have to play the Los Angeles Lakers. Unreal. I would rather play the number 1 team in the Western Conference, the Utah Jazz, than the Lakers in the first round of the playoffs. But that's a side video. So the Lakers win that one. The 9-10 is the Memphis Grizzlies at 9 versus the Spurs at 10. Personally, I think the Spurs win this game. I think Greg Popovich just outcoaches and gets the dub. The Spurs are a pretty deep team. They're not playing good basketball lately at all. And I think Memphis has the best player on the court in Ja Morant, and Jaren Jackson Jr. is a really good player as well, though he hasn't really played much this year. But the Spurs are deep. And I think that DeJounte Murray is one of the most perfect guys in the NBA that can guard Ja Morant. So I don't think it's a good matchup for Memphis. I mean, it's a matchup, the problem for Memphis, really. I mean, Morant's not good enough to really beat DeJounte Murray one-on-one every single time. And as Ja Morant, I think being the best player on the court, getting subtracted like that by a defender as DeJounte Murray's caliber, I think that's bad news Bears for the Grizzlies. Bad news Grizzlies for the Grizzlies. See what I did there? Yeah, I think the Spurs win that one. I think the Spurs and Greg Popovich win that. Greg Popovich has been in the playoffs for 88 years in a row, so I'm taking the Spurs. Which means it is the Spurs versus Warriors for the 8 seed to play the Jazz. I think Steph wins that. I do think the Warriors are going to edge that one out and play the Jazz in the first round, unfortunately, because I'd rather have the Lakers lose Game 1 and play the Jazz so they could beat the Jazz in the first round of the playoffs, but that's just me. But, yeah, so I think the Lakers and the Warriors are going to be the 7-8 in that order, and they're going to both advance. Here comes the Eastern Conference, which is much more exciting for me because it actually matters, right? The 7-8 matchup is the Boston Celtics and the Washington Wizards. So, I think the Wizards win this game. I do. I think having 2 of the 3 best players on the court in a pivotal game like this, it means a lot. With no Jaylen Brown, the Celtics are just not as good, obviously. Kemba Walker's not a good player anymore. He's not a number 2. Jason Tatum, I think, is a phenomenal talent, but I don't think the Celtics are good enough or nearly deep enough to beat a Washington Wizards team with a backcourt of Russell Westbrook and Bradley Beal. And the Wizards have been playing pretty well, and the Celtics are just they're not a good team. Who would have thought the Celtics would have been 36-36 by the end of the year? I don't know, but I'm absolutely loving it. The Wizards win that matchup. They'll take the 7 seed, and they'll play the Brooklyn Nets. That sucks for them. So, The next game is the Charlotte Hornets versus the Indiana Pacers. An ugly game, probably. I can't stand watching Indiana. I mean, it's one of my least favorite teams to watch play basketball. Even when they play the Sixers, I'm just like, this is so ugly. I think Nate Bjorkgren's going to get fired at the end of the year. And I think the Indiana Pacers lose this game. Pretty handily, too, I think. I think it's going to be a 10 to 15 point loss for Indiana. I think Charlotte, though they don't have the best player on the court, I think Sabonis is the best player on the court. Charlotte's way better. I mean, way better. Way better. I was watching Kenny, KOT4Q, his video about the matchup, and he was saying, I could see Terry Rozier dropping 40, and that's my thoughts exactly. I could see Terry Rozier in a game like this giving you 40 to beat the Pacers like that. I think LaMelo Ball, Miles Bridges, the team is way deeper. The Hornets are way deeper. I think the Hornets are going to beat the Pacers, and I think it's going to be a pretty handily win. Hopefully I'm not wrong because I'll look like an idiot. But I got the Hornets in that matchup, which means the Hornets play the Celtics and winner takes the Sixers. I think as a Sixers fan, you want the Celtics to win. I can't believe it, I just said that, but I want the Celtics to be the 8th seed. I want to play Boston in the first round because I think Boston is pretty destroyed right now with injuries, with the way this course of the season has just destroyed them throughout. They're not in a good place mentally, physically, and just basketball-wise. I would like to see Boston win this game. Charlotte's a very young team, so I could see Charlotte winning this game maybe, but they're just so young that I think that their lack of experience in these type of situations, I don't think it gives them 2 wins in the play-in. I think 1 is enough, but I don't think they beat Boston. I think Jason Tatum is way better than anybody else on the court. I just don't think that there's a single guy who can really guard him. Miles Bridges isn't a bad defender, and I think Miles Bridges can probably do a pretty decent job, but I mean, Tatum's going to get his, man. And I think just Boston in general is just going to be better than Charlotte. It's a shame. I think both of these teams would have avoided the play-in if they stayed healthy, but it just didn't work out like that. I think Philadelphia is probably going to play Boston in the first round, and I think Brooklyn's going to play Washington. And then on the Western Conference, I think the Suns at 2 are going to play the Lakers at 7, and the Jazz somehow at 1 are going to play the Golden State Warriors at 8. That is my predictions. Hopefully it turns out that way, because that would be pretty spot on. But I hope you enjoyed the video. I'll see you guys later. Peace out.